The people I know who work the hardest are not the richest. By any stretch of the imagination. You've got your man in Dover working 3 jobs, going for an interview for the 4th. You've got police officers swapping their babies around in the back of cars. Who works harder? The firefighters who ran into Grenfell Tower, or you?
It's an emotional argument.
It's not. It's a simple argument. You're the one who's talked a lot about hardness of work. I'm just trying to define what you mean by the words hard work. Who do you think is a harder worker or has harder work? You or the men and women that ran into Grenfell Tower? Because you earn a hell of a lot more than they do.
Depends what you're defining as hard work.
Well, that's why I'm asking what you do. I'm asking what you define as hard work.
I define hard work as hours. I define hard work as sacrifice.
So the person who's earning the minimum wage and has waived their employment rights, so they're doing 50 hours a week, that person to you works harder than you do.
Say that again, sorry, James.
Person on minimum wage working 50 or 60 hours a week works harder than you do. You just count the hours to get an idea of how hard someone works. It doesn't matter what you're doing during those hours.
No, I don't. I'm not really playing off who's working hard.
Well, you did, mate. That was exactly what you said. I gave you a couple of scenarios, and you said, "Well, I don't really mean that. I don't really mean that. Couldn't it just be hard work?" You said the analogy you used was training before the race. You said, "Couldn't it be that the person who came first worked harder?" So I'm wondering what you mean by that. When I bring teachers and firefighters and doctors and paramedics or factory workers, Nathaniel, who we spoke to first, was working from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And you're telling him he's not working hard enough.
I haven't said that.
You kind of have, mate, because you chose Theresa May.
What I did.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I think you can't completely strip out choice.
No one is. No one's completely stripping out choice at all.
They are, because if they're working 18 hours a day or whatever it is as a firefighter, that's admirable, and I have deep respect for it. It's a vocation to some extent, and so you could do 18 hours a day, and you could do something different, and you could make different choices.
Yeah,
and you could do
exactly. So this is the point, isn't it? That perhaps you've missed, is that I think most of us want to live in a society that recognises the firefighter and rewards the firefighter and his or her choices more than it does the bloke who's invested in the agency that sends supply teachers into secondary schools.
I wouldn't disagree with that, and as somebody that kind of does their politics on the centre, I wouldn't disagree with that. But what I do disagree with is the kind of narrative that is punitive.
But it's not, though. You're buying that. You're buying that from the right-wing media. You're a nice person. You're a good man. You've done well. You've succeeded. You had a little bit of luck along the way, whether you realise it or not. But more likely, you were possessed of some skills and some talents and some gifts that equipped you better to succeed in the rat race that is modern life. Some people have opted out of the rat race because they want to teach our children or treat our illnesses or put out our fires. And you're right, that is a choice. But it's a choice that should be respected and rewarded, not greeted with the suggestion that if you're struggling to pay your bills at the end of the month, you need to work harder.